Welcome. Today we're going to take a look at some general writing expectations for high school students. Our learning goals of the day will include why it's important to write well, what are the different styles and types of writing in essays, what's the structure of an essay, and what would be the expectations of an essay writer. Now, the reason that we're focusing in so much on essays is that there's such a prolific use of essays in high school in all kinds of different classes, so we want to make sure that we hit that really well. In terms of background information, you've moved out of junior high or middle school and moved into high school. You've noticed that to be able to keep up with high school, that you have to write in different ways. You have higher expectations in terms of your writing, and you're writing quite a bit more than you used to. Let's take a look at the different types of writing that are used in high school. Typically, you're going to see short answers, a variety of different essays, research papers, creative pieces, and literary nonfiction. The two most common types of papers that you're going to expect to do would be short answers and essays. So what's at stake as you're turning in work and as you're working through your high school classes? Sometimes in high school you don't get a second chance on that assignment. You'll just have a single draft, or you'll just have one opportunity for a rough draft. This is pretty common, and it's a pretty common change from middle school to high school. As well, assignments come up more quickly, so you don't necessarily have as much time in between assignments as you used to. There are more students in high school classes than there typically are in junior high and middle school classes, so you don't always have the amount of time for instruction and tutoring that you may have had in the past. Therefore, what you need to do is apply what you've already learned and make sure that you're learning in an efficient manner. Okay, so why should you write well? Why is this important? When you're writing, what you're doing is communicating information that you have to another person. Typically in writing, you only get one opportunity to do that, because once an article is published, or once a blog is posted, or a book is in circulation, or so forth, there's really no opportunity to take it back. Once it's out there, it's out there. So you want to make sure that your communication is as perfect as it can be the first time. Alright, let's take a look specifically at what an essay is. An essay is a written account where the author defends specifically a thesis statement. They're going to defend this using logic, reason, examples, evidence, and typically an essay is going to be a minimum of 5 paragraphs. Now, an essay is something that you will see as an assessment in many of your classes, not just English. There are different types of essays. The most common type of essay that you're going to see is expository. And under this umbrella of expository, you're going to see general expository or explaining essays, comparison contrast, procedural. Research papers are considered to be a type of expository essay, as is the literary analysis, cause and effect, definition, and description. There are actually many other kinds of expository essays that would fit within this category as well. Type of essays that are not necessarily considered to be expository would be persuasive and narrative. Those end up being in categories by themselves. Now let's take a look at paragraph types. This is how you will structure your essay. You're always going to start off with an introduction. You're going to move into multiple body paragraphs. You may have anywhere from 3 to 30 body paragraphs, so there's a pretty wide range there. And then you will always finish an essay with a conclusion paragraph. You can look here under these lists and you can see the different kinds of sentences that need to be included in those different kinds of paragraphs. So for example, in an introduction paragraph, you always want to start off with 1 to 2 hook statements, follow up with a thesis. You want to have 3 to 7 these main general broad support statements, and you wrap up every paragraph with a conclusion statement. Now, a thesis statement, this is probably the most important part of your essay, regardless of what kind of essay that you're writing. Your thesis is an arguable opinion statement. It is not a statement of fact. It needs to be an argument. It needs to be an opinion. What you're going to do with this opinion is that you're going to support it with all kinds of different logic, details, and evidence throughout your essay. So, how should an essay look and read? We're going to cover this information so that you have a good idea on how to structure your essay, how to edit your essay, and how your essay may be graded as you're working through your classes. Focus and content. This is a really important piece here. Here we're going to look at, what is your thesis statement? Are you staying on topic? Are you staying appropriate at all times? Are you meeting your audience's needs? Are you answering the writing prompt? Are you following all of your directions? Do you have depth, breadth, and thorough understanding of the topic? And are those being communicated and coming through in your writing? Those are the kinds of things that come under focus and content. We want to make sure that we always have that in an essay. As well, organization is absolutely key to a strong piece of writing. Very important in an essay. Typical essay is going to have an introduction, multiple body paragraphs, and then a conclusion paragraph. Each of these paragraphs are structured slightly differently and have slightly different information in them. So you want to make sure that the individual paragraphs are well organized and that the entire essay is organized. So where will you use this kind of information? When you're talking about the ideas that you want to communicate across and how well organized that information is, you're going to use that everywhere. We use this on a daily basis whether or not we realize it. We use it in our speaking, in our communicating, in our writing, in everything. Let's take a look too at style. Style is something that can be a little bit challenging for students at first to really get the idea of, because when you're going from a middle school setting to a high school setting, sometimes style can be challenging. In high school, your writing needs to become more formal, more academic, and less emotional than what you've done in the past. In the past, you may have talked about yourself, your personal feelings, your personal views. Whereas when you move into high school and then later on into college, you talk about views as being more separate from yourself. So you're becoming more academic, more professional in your writing. These are the kinds of things here that go into style. You want to make sure that your writing is formal and academic, non-emotional. You want to make sure that you're using third person. That's an easy way to formalize your writing. Writing out things like your contractions, writing on grade level with your vocabulary, using strong transition words and phrases, and not using things like abbreviations, symbols, cliche, and slang. Those things can really help to formalize your writing. Let's also take a look at sentence fluency. Sentence fluency is one of the really easy ways that you can improve your flow in the presentation of your writing. You want to use a wide variety of different kinds of sentences with sentence fluency. So you want to use a variety of sentence lengths. So that means short, medium, and long sentences. You also want to use a variety of sentence types. So simple, compound, complex, and compound complex sentences should appear in each paragraph. This will really make for a very nice flow and presentation in your writing. Conventions. You guys are probably pretty used to editing for your conventions. This is where you look for all of the errors and make sure that they have been removed. Obviously, you don't want to turn in writing that has errors in spelling, grammar, punctuation, and so forth. So you want to make sure that you're correcting all of those little things as you're going along. Formatting. Formatting is something that can be a little bit confusing at first, but once you get the hang of it, it really makes sense. Here's a typical formatting expectation list that's right here in front of you. What you want to do is use a font like Times New Roman or Arial. Use a size 12 and black or blue ink. Your margins are typically 1 inch on top and bottom, 1 1/4 inch on left and right. Your spacing for essays and for research papers should always be double spaced. And make sure that you're not skipping lines in between your paragraphs. That's not necessary. 5 paragraphs is typically considered to be the minimum expectation, and make sure that you're always putting a heading on your paper with your name, your date, and the assignment at minimum. Alright, things not to do. This is really a list that you should sit down with, pause the video, and go through. Make sure that you're not doing these things. These are some of the things here, like trying to be cool, cute, or silly. That oftentimes backfires in an essay. In a high school or a college essay, it's very infrequent that those things work out well. As well, make sure you don't reinvent the essay format. Stick with the traditional format. It's easy, it's straightforward, and it works well. It'll save you a lot of time and heartache. Go through this list on your own and make sure that you understand all the things not to do. This will help save you time and make your process a lot more efficient. Make sure that you're doing these things. Trust yourself. You're smarter than you think you are. Sometimes students won't get started with an essay because they feel nervous about it. They feel overwhelmed about it. But give yourself that belief that you can do it, because you can. Once you jump in there and start working, I think you'll find that the process is actually easier than it seems. Trust the process. Starting off with using your 5-step writing process, that can help you enormously in terms of saving time and keeping things efficient. Listen to the advice and feedback of peers and teachers in particular. You don't always have to agree with everything that they say, but these people have some really good ideas to help you out. And be ready to try, sometimes to fail, but then always to get up and try again. In terms of student expectations, what should you know and be able to do? Well, you should know about how important that writing is, some different styles of writing and different types of essays, the structure of an essay, we covered that, and the expectations of an essay writer. You're welcome to go back through this video multiple times if you feel like you missed any of those things as well. Remember that you can do it, even though at the beginning writing essays can feel like a big expectation. It is something that you really do need to learn. You're going to use it not only in school, but also in the professional world, so make sure that you learn these little steps along the way. I hope this information has been helpful for your writing. Good luck.